Hello everyone, I hope you have had a good Thursday. Hope that you've done something productive today. I'm going to read a book, When I Was Young in the Mountains. I talked about this book last week when I read another book by Cynthia Rylant, and we know that Cynthia Rylant is a West Virginia author. Before you watch this, I want you to find somewhere comfy, cozy. If you have someone at home that you want to watch this video with, grab them, sit and watch this. Just take a deep breath. If you've got the TV on, watching the news, turn it off. Make sure you're not sitting around watching the news too much, because we have to try to stay as positive as we possibly can, and that's going to be very, very hard to do if all we do is sit and watch the news on what's happening. Stay informed, definitely keep up with what's going on, but don't let that consume your day. Don't just sit and watch it. Do some other things, but stay informed. This is a very special book. Of all the books that I have, this is one of my favorite children's books because it's written about the life of West Virginia a long time ago. Please pay attention to the book, because when it's over, I have a few activities that I want you to do. Not assignments, but I have a few activities that I would like you to do with this book. So, When I Was Young in the Mountains by Cynthia Rylant, and it's illustrated by Diane Good. When I was young in the mountains, Grandfather came home in the evening, covered with the black dust of a coal mine. Only his lips were clean, and he used them to kiss the top of my head. When I was young in the mountains, Grandmother spread the table with hot cornbread, pinto beans, and fried okra. Okra, yeah. How many of you ever had fried okra before? Later in the middle of the night, she walked through the grass with me to the Johnny house and held my hand in the dark. I promised never to eat more than one serving of okra again. So a Johnny house is an outhouse. And if you don't know what an outhouse is, it used to be you had a little shed outside that you would go to the bathroom in. So in case you didn't know what an outhouse was. When I was young in the mountains, we walked across the cow pasture and through the woods carrying our towels. The swimming hole was dark and muddy, and we sometimes saw snakes, but we jumped in anyway. On our way home, we stopped at Mr. Crawford's for a mound of white butter. Mr. Crawford and Mrs. Crawford looked alike and always smelled of sweet milk. When I was young in the mountains, we pumped pails of water from the well at the bottom of the hill, and heated the water to fill round tin tubs for our baths. Imagine if before you could take a bath, you had to go out and you had to pump water from a well. Afterward, we stood in front of the old black stove, shivering and giggling, while Grandmother heated cocoa on top. When I was young in the mountains, we went to church in the schoolhouse on Sundays, and sometimes walked with a congregation through the cow pasture to the dark swimming hole for baptisms. My cousin Peter was laid back into the water, and his white shirt stuck to him, and my grandmother cried. When I was young in the mountains, we listened to frogs sing at dusk and awoke to cowbells outside our windows. Sometimes a black snake came in the yard, and my grandmother would threaten it with a hoe. If it did not leave, she used the hoe to kill it. 4 of us once draped a very long snake, dead of course, across our necks for a photograph. When I was young in the mountains, we sat on the porch swing in the evenings, and Grandfather sharpened my pencils with his pocket knife. Grandmother sometimes shelled beans and sometimes braided my hair. The dogs lay around us, and then the stars sparkled in the sky. A bobwhite whistled in the forest. Bobwhite? You guys should really look up YouTube videos of a bobwhite to listen to the sound that it makes. When I was young in the mountains, I never wanted to go to the ocean, and I never wanted to go to the desert. I never wanted to go anywhere else in the world, for I was in the mountains, and that was always enough. That is the end of the book. Okay, so my challenge activity for you guys. First, I want you to call a grandmother, grandpa, a cousin, a friend. Now, this is, Mr. Meadows kids, I hope you're watching. You need to be watching. If you're not one of my kids, if you're an adult watching this, I want you, one, to call and check up on someone older today, please. And as a conversation piece, I want you to ask them what it was like for them growing up. I know some of us, if we call our grandparents or an older friend, relative, some of the things they will tell us about growing up will be very similar to the story in this book. Call, talk to people, find out what their stories are, how they grew up. Send your interesting stories to me. Kids, my kids, message me on Dojo. If you're an adult watching this and you're a friend watching this, shoot me a text, a message, comment on the video. Just share with me the interesting story that you heard this evening. But my challenge, though, for you is to check on someone older and ask them today what it was like for them growing up. All right, I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. It's really pretty weather. It's going to be rainy for a few days, so if you can at all possible, go sit outside, enjoy the sunset, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.